Welcome everyone. We have a great stream planned. Well, I say we, I mean I. There's no one else. It's just me. Welcome everyone to the stream. Let's see who's here already. Let's see. I can't scroll on here, but I can scroll on the computer. So let's go up and check, see who is here first. Hey, Arlie. Looks like Arlie's chat comment was here like an hour ago almost. Lauren. Oh, you have to take off? No problem. Lauren probably is not watching this right now. Cheryl, Sam, Small, and James. Welcome, everyone, as well as to all of the other people who are joining in today. And if this is your first time seeing one of my streams before, also welcome. We will be getting started right at 2 o'clock. So yes, you are early. We will not be starting right now. We're going to start right at 2 o'clock. So you're here early. We can just do some announcements. We can chit chat. If you have any quick Korean questions, maybe we can do that before we get started. For everyone who is joining, let me just go over the prerequisites really quick. If you want to make the most out of this form, what am I saying? If you want to get the most out of this lesson, you want to make sure you're familiar with number one, using the sol form, because the form we're using today has a lot of the same rules and the same restrictions as the sol form. So if you don't know the sol form very well, this is not the lesson for you, to be honest. Again, reminder, this is an intermediate level lesson. So if you're not yet at an intermediate level, you can still feel free to stick around, but you'll definitely get more out of this lesson at the intermediate level. It is not a beginner concept. This is not something that you'll be able to use unless you already have a full understanding of beginning grammar. So I'll say that. And if you are already intermediate or above and you already know this grammar form, I think you're still going to learn something new from it today. So you can still stick around as well. So this lesson is kind of for all levels, as long as you're like high beginner and above, you should be able to get something out of this. But if you still really want to stick around for this lesson, you have time right now before the lesson starts. You have about 13 minutes. You can go and watch my live stream videos, scan to the parts about the sol form, and you'll be good. Also, you want to make sure you're familiar with conjugating verbs for descriptive verbs and action verbs, because we're going to be doing that. Every sentence in the intermediate level does this. I always just mention it here like a default, just kind of like a reminder. And finally, although we're not going to be covering quoting forms today, you want to make sure you're kind of familiar with quoting forms. If you're not familiar with quoting forms, you wouldn't be an intermediate level yet. But you also have time to go and watch a video about that if you want a quick refresher, if you've learned it, you just don't remember it all. But you want to make sure you're familiar with these three topics in order to get the most out of today's lesson. Okay, that is the prerequisites for today. Other quick announcements. Let's check here. I got my little hand warmer. RJ hand, what does that mean? I know RDJ. Robert Downey Jr. I don't know RJ. Anyway, other announcements. We have every single live stream comes with an outline. So if you'd like to get those, all you have to do is join my Patreon page. Even the $1 donation gets access to all of the outlines I've put out since the beginning of these live streams 2 years ago, actually over 2 years ago now. Yeah, as well as worksheets for every live stream. So you can get both of those. Actually, you can get the worksheet right now. You can get the outline as soon as today's live stream finishes, and that has all the sentences that we're going to cover in this live stream, all of the explanations, and usually it's in the same order as well. So you can kind of use it as a cheat sheet if you want to review something again, or if you're too lazy to take notes, you can use that as your notes. Anyway, other announcements is just a reminder that all of the members of this channel, so if you joined this channel, there's about 60 or so of you. You also get access to all of these live videos, what you're watching right now. You'll get to watch the abridged version, the edited version, which will be about 10 minutes. You can watch that tonight. You don't have to wait until Wednesday to watch that like everyone else. You can watch it tonight, a few hours after it's finished. Okay. Now I'm fully out of breath and done with all of the announcements I have to make. So I'm going to look at the chat for a little bit, and we will have about 10 minutes if you guys have any quick Korean questions before we get started with our lesson today. And let's see who else came in. A few other names I recognize. Let's see here. Hello, welcome. Quoting form equals plain form? No, completely different. quoting form, one of the quoting forms uses plain form in it, but it's even not 100% the same as plain form. So no, I would never say that quoting form would be the same as plain form. They're different. Quoting form can use plain form in one of the quoting forms, but plain form is not a quoting form by itself. RJ, okay, I figured it was probably something K-pop related or BTS related. I think I'd heard RJ, but I didn't know if that was a BTS thing or a different band. So BT21. Okay. What about my merch? Oh yeah, I have merchandise. It sells okay. People buy it. I guess now that we're going into the now that we're going to be, the summer weather's finally over, right? At least in California where I am, it was hot until 2 weeks ago. Now, though, it's finally cooling down and we're going to get some cooler weather soon. So I'll start pinning sweaters to the merchandise. That's just one more way, if you're interested in supporting this channel, one more way you can do it is through merchandise. Of course, it's not a requirement to enjoy this channel. All of these live streams have been and always will continue to be 100%. How do you do that? I don't. I almost flipped everyone off. 100. There we go. 100%. Can you use that right? 100% free. Better be careful when I make my hand symbols. Okay. Yes. Let's see what else is going on there. Hey, Billy, what's the difference between cool ponika and cool nanika? I did a live stream about nanika that you can check out. I haven't done a live stream about ponika. However, if a member suggests it, we can add it to the list. All of the items that we vote on every week, all of those suggestions originally came from members. So if you're wondering, well, Billy, I want you to teach this concept this time, or can you please teach that? Join the membership. I don't know what else to tell you because I have so many requests from members that I take those first. So if you want to get on the list for future topics that I haven't done yet, request it there. This would be, that question you're asking would actually be quite a big lesson to do the cool ponika and ta ponika. There's several, so ponika is another one. There's several ones that you would need to get in order to compare them. But the cool nanika, I did that. So you can check that in the Google Drive. There's a document that I uploaded that has every single live stream and every single topic and link and everything in it. And you can search for nanika and you'll find it in there. Something interrupts you. I think, unless you're saying something different, Philip, I think you might be confusing that with the taga form, which is the interrupting one. But unless you're talking about something else. Let's see. Study meetup. Yeah, study meetup would be cool. Did you ever make a lesson about the bonheta form? Yes, I have. It's an old video, though. In the Learn Korean series, you can search for it. I have how to say bonhada as well as how to use koi. And I think there's another form in there as well. Yeah, I think that's it. It's the words for how to say almost. And you can check that one out as well. Do your Korean teaching books? Yes, they do. They are definitely in the UK. I believe you can get them directly from the print books. You can get directly from Amazon in UK as well as from Book Depository in the UK, which is another distributor. Some people like them better. And there are links to all of that in the video description you can find. It goes to my website where you can find links to all of it. Okay. Any other quick questions before we start? We got about 4 or 5 more minutes left. Just to let people who are coming in late still get here. You like my background, Philip? Oh, yeah, I didn't. Actually, sometimes just lately with with the situation being as it is, I can't really do very much. I can't really go in crowded places, but sometimes I'll just like to go for walks. And today I was walking around Seoul and I lost track of time. And when I stopped walking, I looked up, I realized I was on Jeju Island again. So, you know, it happens. So, yeah, today I'm actually broadcasting from Jeju Island. So that's where we're going to get our live stream today. I think it looks really pretty. So, you know, it's okay sometimes to just kind of wander around. Finally, I'm able to watch it live. Yeah, welcome. Some of you guys are new here. I saw some people mentioning that this is their first live stream. Is there a way to say would you, as in would you learn English? It depends by what you mean by would you. Like, would you as in will you, would you? Or could you as in will you, could you as in would you? It's like a tongue twister even asking. If you clarify exactly what you mean, I can tell you a form. But there's not really going to be a good one-to-one for that. Like, in that situation, would you? In that sort of would you? Or will you? Like, please, would you? Because would in English can have like a requesting sort of meaning. Like, hey, would you mind doing that? Would you, please, really? Or would you? What would you do? That sort of if situation. So yeah, there's some different uses to that. I walked across. I really don't know. I was just walking and the next thing I knew, I ended up here. Maybe I walked onto a barge or something and I didn't realize it. Walked onto a plane. I don't know. Anyway, I'm here. So don't think about it too much. Okay, we're here to learn Korean. Hey, alligator. Welcome, Suryong. Krishnaji tak. Krishnaji tak. It's my first time. If I read it like that, it's like some other language. I don't know, like a Star Trek language. Sounds kind of cool. Krishnaji tak. Okay. Are they willing to? Still, I would need to know what situation. Are you willing to, like, please? Or can you? Because then there's another form, can you do it? Or like, if in that situation, would you? Like, are you asking someone, please do it? Like, to asking your boyfriend, oh, would you learn Korean with me? Like that sort of thing. Or if you had a lot of time, would you learn Korean? Because those are different in Korean. Like I said, it's a word would it's not one-to-one translatable. It would depend case by case. But if you're generally just saying, like, would you as in, will you, you can just say, 하시겠어요? Will you, directly. And that could mean as would you also. Or 해주시겠어요? Like, would you please do that for me? Like, that's a common way of making a request. If that's what you mean, I think that might be what you're asking. Just 주시겠어요? 해주시겠어요? Would you please do it? Or 하시겠어요? Would you do it? Would also work. Okay, I got, let's read here. Okay, last question. Majesty gave me, hi Billy, what should I do to learn how to speak Korean faster? I would need to know what your current Korean speaking is right now to give you a good answer to that. But for speaking Korean faster, you really need to be able to make sentences faster in the first place. And the only way to do that would be lots of speaking practice. One quick trick though, I guess, would be making shorter sentences can help you speak more quickly. Whereas if you're trying to make these long sentences, you're trying to translate everything that you want to say in English into Korean, that's going to obviously slow down your Korean because you're making the sentence structure is backwards from English. So you're going to be thinking of this long sentence. If you make your sentence shorter though, you can get that sentence out much more quickly. So your speed will go up. If you only care about speed, make your sentences shorter. Okay, so now it is 2:00. So let's get started with our lesson today. We're going to be learning about two forms, but we're actually going to be focusing on just one because if you understand the one form, you can easily learn the second form, assuming that you know the prerequisites for today's lesson. Okay, so the first form we're going to be learning about is 고해서. So the form we're going to be learning about is 고해서. And the way to make it is you take a verb stem. This can be any verb stem. You attach 고 and then 해서. All right, guys, thanks for coming to the lesson today. And it's not that easy. before we talk about what it is, I actually want to talk about what this form is not. Because people see 고해서, and sometimes they misunderstand this to be a different form. Because there is a different 고해서 that you'll commonly see in Korean, and it is not this. Okay? Let me show you what I mean. So first, let me show you a form that this is not, basically. So first, I'm going to show you what form this is not, and that is a quoting form. This is not a quoting form. Let me give you an example about that. Oh, and before I do that, though, I should tell you what 고해서 means. Okay, regardless of how it's used, even if you see it in this wrong form I'm about to show you, it means because. Kind of. So we'll get into detail in a second, though. So here's the way that it's not. 친구가, so a friend or my friend. 친구가 저녁을 사주다, 사다, to buy, 주다, for me. So buy for me, buy lunch for me. 사주겠다고 해서. Again, this is not the form we're learning today. This is actually not any grammar form. This is just a regular usage of Korean. 점심을 굶었어요. Okay, I'll talk about what this means in a second. Again, this is not the form that we're going to be learning today. So this is not the form we're learning today. But it also means because. 친구가 저녁을 사주겠다고 해서. Let's just go up to here. This is a quoting form. And this is why I said that quoting forms were kind of a prerequisite for today. 말해서. So 고해서 is literally 말해서. Because my friend said or says, he or she will buy me dinner. 저녁을 사주겠다고. Will buy me dinner. So, 친구가 저녁을 사주겠다고 해서 because my friend says or said that he or she will buy me dinner, because of that, well then what? You can finish the sentence however. 점심을 굶었어요. 굶다, this means to starve, so to not eat. This means 굶었어요 means I didn't eat. You can think of it that way. So I didn't eat lunch. I skipped lunch because my friend said that he or she will buy me dinner. So because my friend said that they'll buy me dinner, I skipped lunch, right? This is not the form we're learning today. 고해서. Looks the same, but this is a quoting form. This uses the quoting form 고 together with 해서, which can also just be 말해서, because they said, because my friends said. This is not the same thing. The 고해서 form we're going to be learning today is not 고 quoting form. It is the regular 고 ending, which is attached to a verb stem. However, this 고, when used in quoting, is attached to a plain form conjugation. Now, not all quoting forms use plain form, but statements do. Regular statements, when you're just saying something. It's not a question, it's not a command, it's not a suggestion. You're just saying something is a certain way, or someone does something. Here, friend will buy me dinner. Regular statement. Plain form comes before it. So this is plain form plus 고, which is a quoting form. What we're doing today, however, is verb stem plus 고. It's a different 고. Although it looks the same, it's a 고 in disguise. Okay. So this sentence is not what we're going to be doing today. Just wanted to clarify that. I can't speak English. Okay. Now let's get on to what it is. Let me write it back up here. Okay. Verb stem plus 고해서. 고해서. Okay. What this is you can use it with action verbs and verb stems. There's no restriction. You can use it on any verbs. And you must follow this form with an action. By that, I mean an action verb. So after you use this form, let's just use 하다 as an example. 하다, the verb stem is 하. 하고 해서. The end of the sentence has to be an action. Someone does something. Or if you want to be shorter, if you don't want to use an action and you just want to say because. Remember, this form means because. So if you just wanted to say because of this and end your sentence, it's because of this. Well, you could also just end your sentence with 해서. Can end with 해서, or if you want to be polite, 해서요. These are both fine. So you could just end the sentence with 해서요. Or if you're not going to end the sentence right there, it's because of this. It's because of whatever verb comes before it. If you don't want to do that, then you have to follow it by an action. This form is only used to explain why someone did or does an action. It is not used to say, I am hungry because. That wouldn't be an action. I'm sleepy, I'm tired. Oh, my face is red because. Although there is actually an action verb to mean to get red, so that doesn't count. Descriptive verbs don't work with this. Oh, I'm so hungry because I didn't eat this morning. No, you cannot use this form with this sort of expression. It has to be followed by an action. So something like, I stayed at my house today because it was snowing. Stayed at my house. Action. I ate 10 pounds of kimchi because I was hungry. Sure. Because can be any verb you want. Verb stem. But what happens after that has to be an action. So keep that in mind. I've seen lots of sentences where people will say something like, because I exercise a lot every day, I am tired every day. It doesn't make sense in Korean. They'll understand what you were trying to say, but grammatically it's wrong. It sounds awkward. So this must be followed by an action, or if you wanted to say, it's because I ate 10 buckets of kimchi. That's why I couldn't go to your birthday party. It's because I ate 10 buckets of kimchi. 해서요 is also fine if you want to do that. I take it back. Don't do that. You will probably die if you eat that much of anything. But it's an example, okay? All right. The other thing. So let's talk a little bit more about this form. I said it means because, but there's a better way you can think about it. Okay, what is the go ending normally mean? Just write it in chat. If I use the go ending like this, what does it normally mean? I just want to see. Hey, we got 128 people here. Cool. Yeah, feel free to write it in the chat. Yes. A-N-G-E. Ang. Ang. I don't know how to say your name. Okay. Just checking. Just want to make sure you guys are with me. And yes. This form, the go verb ending like this, means and. So we have part of our translation already. And it is. This is the same form. It's from the same form. 해서. 해서. What does this 해서 mean? Well, let's just look at it this way. What does 서 mean? What does 서 by itself mean? You guys don't have to answer that. You probably already know. Because. So, really what you're saying is, and something, and something else or whatever. Maybe there's nothing after here. Something and then because of that, something and because of it. That's what this form literally means. We'll come back to this in a second. It'll make a bit more sense once you see some examples. But this form literally means something. So let's say I'm tired. No, let's say it's raining. It's raining, and because of that, hey Saul, remember because is always referring to what comes before it. So it's raining and, well, because of that, that's your literal meaning. You get a meaning of and ... because. So something and, well, because of that. What this means is, let me write it so that I don't have to say it a bunch of times. So we're going to have our koheso form. Actually, let me make it even easier. This koheso form, literally meaning something and because, is giving one reason for something. So you're saying something is a certain way. Actually, not saying is a certain way. So you're saying someone or something does something because of this reason. However, this reason is only one of the reasons. In fact, there are more reasons. There are maybe a dozen more reasons. But I am telling you the one most important reason. I'm only giving you one of those reasons why someone or something does something. That is what this form is used for, and that is what this form literally means. So let me give you an example. If I were to say something like, I stayed at home because it's raining today. Well, you're saying it is raining today and something else. There's another reason, but I'm not saying it. But anyway, hey Saul, because of that, think about that for a second. Just kind of let it sink in. I'll say it again. If we use this form to say something like, I stayed at home because it's raining, then the sentence we would get would be something like, it's raining and maybe something else. Maybe it's really cold. Maybe it's wet. Maybe I might slip and fall. Maybe it's, any other reason. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying it's raining and anyway, because of that, I stayed at home. So you're listing one reason. In fact, you're listening. Hope you're listening. So you're listing. Now I've got a lisp. So you're listing one reason. Now this is the reason that you think is the most important. It's raining. That's the most important reason why you stayed at home. But you're saying, you're inferring, you're suggesting. I'll say that. But you're suggesting that there are actually more reasons. Just, this is the only one you're going to say. So because it's raining and stuff, like that. Because it's raining among other reasons. I'm not mentioning the other reasons, but there are. But the biggest reason is because it's raining, I stayed at home. I'll actually give you that sentence for our example sentence. I just kind of wanted to explain it in English before we got into it. Okay. So let me write this out. Let me write out a translation for this. Something like, it's because whatever comes before, among other things, or among other reasons. So this form, koheso, is like saying it's because whatever comes before it. I don't know what I'm doing. Is that like car logo? Okay. It's like saying, this koheso form is like saying it's because whatever comes before it here, among other things. Yeah, it's because it's raining, among other things, so I stayed home. So you're saying it's raining and, I'm not listing the reason, I'm not listing any other reasons, but, you know, raining and, you know, because of that, hey Saul, because of that, I stayed at home. So that's what this form means. Okay, I think I've explained how it works. I haven't finished explaining how you can use it. There are some restrictions on how you can't use this, but just how it works. Does that make sense? Of course, I will tell you how it works grammatically. There are some restrictions to it. Okay, hopefully that at least makes sense for the explanation. So Ethan asks, can you use the past tense? We'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get to all that. Okay, so now I've told you what this form means, literally, and what it means when you translate it and how it means that. But let's talk about how you can use it. Because it's not as simple. It's not as simple as just attaching 고해서 to a verb stem. Unfortunately. Now, let's see. I already did that. 해서, verb, adjective. Okay. One more thing we didn't notice. One more thing. What is this? This Saul is the same thing as the Saul form. And I mentioned that, right? It means because. But does it? Are there some restrictions though you remember about this? Does anyone remember from the Saul lesson or maybe in their own studies? What are some restrictions though with using this grammar form? Saul. Because all those restrictions apply here with this form. What are they? What can you not use Saul with? Someone give me one or two of them. I gained weight. I definitely did not gain weight. And I know that 100% because every morning I weigh myself on a scale. I haven't gained a single pound since March. In fact, I've actually lost a pound. If we're really getting picky, I am the exact same weight though. Yes, Rulia. No commands. Yep. Because this is the Saul form. Whoa, I just saw a flash. Hey, Alex. Alex, full metal. Thank you. I forgot I had donations. Alex, full metal. Cool. Thanks for the $1. It's actually a super European dollar. Okay. Yes, because this is the Saul form, it has the same restrictions as when you use Saul. Specifically, you cannot use it to make a command or a suggestion. So although I said you can use this, although I said you have to follow this form with an adjective, what am I trying to say? Action, verb, and adjective at the same time. Although I said you have to follow this form with an action, so an action verb, you can't make that action verb a command or a suggestion. So you can't say something like, oh, because it's raining today, let's go eat some ramen, right? You know, rain makes me think of ramen. Because it's raining today and other things, let's go eat some ramen. You can't do that. That would be a suggestion. You also can't say, because it's raining today, Mom, drive me to school. That would be a command. You can't do that either. Just like the Saul form cannot use those either. You can do different subjects though. That's not in the way, because this hey Saul kind of separates it. If you're wondering the technical reason, this hey Saul kind of separates it from the rest of the sentence. So there's not a restriction on this, the same subject anymore. This is not used hey Saul as in the subject is doing anything. This is just because of this situation. So there's no subject in here yet. So it's okay to use different subject. Because of this, well, you do this. That's okay. But you can't use it for any command. And so you can't use it for any command. You can't say because of something, do something, or a suggestion. Because of something, let's do something, or shall we do something? Any sort of suggestion like that. So keep that in mind. Also, Let me make sure I've taught. Okay, that is all of the restrictions. Now let's talk about how it's used, and then I'll give you your first sentence. So that is everything about how you can and can't use it. No, that's everything about how you can't use it. So let's now talk about how you can use it. Well, this form tends to get used together with the particle to. So it won't just be regular verb stem, 고해서, finish the sentence. It will be somewhere before the 고해서 form. You might have a noun. You might have like buy a book. Let's do this. 책을 사야 하다. Literally, to have to buy a book. So you might say, because I have to buy a book and, other things, I can't go. I can't go to your party because I have to buy books. I have to wash my hair, whatever reason. So, 책을 사야 하고. So, instead of using the object marker in here, you'll find more often that do gets used with verbs. Sorry, do gets used, do, a deer, do, a particle, a non-gendered particle, and 책, 도, 사야 하다. So instead of just using the object marker, whenever there's a noun, let me say it even clearly. Whenever there's a noun that comes before this 고 하다 form, for example, if you were to say like 책을 사야 하다, like to have to buy a book, instead it's more common that you'll see this used with 책, 도. I just got a donation. Brando. I'll call you Brando. Your videos are super helpful. I'm half Korean in America, so learning has been pretty difficult. Thanks for all the content. Yeah, thanks, Brando. Brando. It's what plants crave. Thank you. Okay, let me give you another quick example of this. So, let me think there. Okay, so for another quick example. So let's say 비가 오다 is to rain. And we're going to combine this with our 고해서 form. Because it rains, because it is raining and other reasons. So because it's raining and other reasons as well, well, it's actually more common, or I shouldn't say you have to do it, but it's really common that you'll actually see to used instead of another marker whenever there is a noun in the sentence that comes before 고해서. So in this case, if we were to use this form, it would be 비도 오고 해서. So because it's raining and other things, but notice that it changed to 도. Now, this isn't something you really need to translate into English. Literally, when you do this, it means because it is also raining, right? It adds emphasis to the fact that this is just one of the many options this is just one of the many reasons for what I'm doing or for what I did, right? So this form will often go together with the particle do. So you'll see that. So instead of using the object marker or subject marker or topic marker or something else like that, you'll more often see do used with any sort of phrase that comes before the 고해서 form. Okay. I think we're ready for our first sentence. And let's make our first sentence this one. 비도 오고, actually my writing is atrocious. 비도 오고 해서, so because it's raining, among other things, 비도 오고 해서, 집에, so at home, I think it's just 있었어요. Yeah. 있었어요. So literally, I was at home. 집에 있었어요. I was at home because 비도 오고 해서 집에 있었어요. Because it is raining and other reasons, but because it's raining, among other reasons, I just stayed at home. I just stayed at home because, it's raining and, everything with the weather. So I'm saying one reason. I'm saying my main reason why. But I'm implying that there are other reasons. But the main reason is because it's raining, right? I'm just saying, it's raining and everything, I'll just stay home. So you could just say, 비가 와서 집에 있었어요. I stayed home because it's raining. Yeah. But now we have, it's raining and things, everything, other reasons too, but because it's raining, I stayed at home. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this is our first sentence. One more time though. 비도 오고 해서 because it's raining, among other things, 집에 있었어요. I stayed home. So I just stayed home because it's raining and other reasons. Next thing we have to talk about. I could just give you a bunch of sentences with it, but let's see. Yeah, I'll give you guys one more sentence, and then we're going to go on to another thing, another common way this form gets used. 이제 곧 means soon, right away, as in the near future. Soon. 겨울 is winter. 겨울이고. In this sentence, we're going to be using 고 해서 with the verb 이다, to be. So 겨울이고 해서 because it's winter soon, because it's now winter soon and other things, because it's soon winter, 새롭다 means to be new. So here is 새로운, a new 외투. 외투 is outer coat, like a big coat you'd wear, like an overcoat. 새로운 외투를 샀어요. So I bought. 이제 곧 겨울이고 해서 새로운 외투를 샀어요. 새로운 외투를 샀어요. So I bought a new coat. I bought a new overcoat because it is winter soon. And other reasons, maybe because they're on sale. Maybe because I'm planning on going skiing anyway and I got to get a coat for the drive up there. Or, just I figured I wanted a coat to look cool. Many other reasons, but the main reason is because it's winter soon. 이제 곧 겨울이고 해서 새로운 외투를 샀어요. So because it's winter soon, I bought a new overcoat. 이제 곧 겨울이고 해서 새로운 외투를 샀어요. Okay. So, you don't have to use the particle 도, but if there is a noun, if there's a noun within there, here, the only noun is used directly before 이다, and you wouldn't say 겨울도이고. It would only be if you have a noun in the part of the sentence that comes before the 고 해서. But here there is no other noun, so there's no place to put it in the first place. But if you had some sort of noun here, then you would add it. You could add it anyway, I should say. You don't have to, but it usually is. Okay. Next, let's do another common way that this form is used. And that is with the key nominalization ending. What this is, what was that? What this is a nominalization form to change any verb, descriptive verb or action verb, into a noun. So if you have 하다, it would become 하기. 하기도. This form is used in this form as well. I'll show you. As 하기도 해서. Now, it's a little bit different. We're not talking about 고 해서 anymore, but the form is the same. Because even doing a verb, because, I'm even doing this among other things, this is used as a way to add additional emphasis to the meaning of even onto the verb itself. So instead of just saying because it's raining, you're now saying because it's raining. You're adding emphasis onto whatever verb you're putting it before. Because you have even verb ing, even the nominalization verb form, 기. So because even this verb, whether that's descriptive verb or action verb, so it's the same meaning of because, the same thing as 고 해서, but now you're emphasizing the verb itself more. So you're not just saying, like I said, you're not just saying because I it's winter soon. You're saying because it's even winter soon. Because it's even raining. Yeah, because it's raining on top of all things, over everything, it's raining. That sort of meaning. So this form is also used in a different way as ki, do, heso after a verb stem. So let me show you what that would look like. Now you can use either form. Don't feel like you have to use this or the other. They both work. Remember, both of these forms work with verbs, both verbs. You don't have to use 기도하다, you don't have to use 기도해서 or 고해서. You can use either one. Just know that the 기도해서 form is only with, well, actually, they're both with verbs. They're both. You can use either one. Either one. Do you want to emphasize the verb a little more? Then use 기도해서. No? Then use 고해서. Okay. So let's do an example with that. 요리 means cooking. 요리 재료. So cooking ingredients. Well, something like that. Yeah. 요리 재료. Oops. Object marker. 요리 재료를 사러 가다. Literally to go to buy. So 가야. I have to go to buy cooking ingredients. 하기도 해서. You know, I gotta even go buy cooking ingredients and stuff, you know? Like, among other things I gotta go do. But because I also gotta buy cooking ingredients, 요리 재료를 사러 가야 하기도 해서 일찍 나왔어요. So I came out of my house early. 나오다 means to come out, like as in to come outside, to come out of your house or wherever you're in. 일찍 나왔어요. I came out of my house early because I even have to go buy cooking ingredients. So I came out of my house early because I have to go buy cooking ingredients. But now we have with this 기도하다, this 기도해서 form, we get the meaning of because I even got to go buy, you know, cooking ingredients and I have to do other things too, but I even have to go to get cooking ingredients. Like maybe you're talking about you have this party plan, you have to cook and your friend's like, hey, you should come over to my house while you're waiting before we start. And you're like, no, I even have to get cooking ingredients. I even have to go to buy cooking ingredients. So you want to add that meaning of even what it is that you have to do. 하기도 해서. If you didn't want that form, you could just say 하고 해서 because I have to go buy cooking ingredients. Fine. But here with the 기도해서 is I even have to go buy in that sort of even meaning just by adding the tool. So using this tool form here adds the meaning of like I even have to do or I even did or any sort of meaning like that depending on what it's doing, depending on what verb it's being used with. Or if it's used with a descriptive verb, it even is a certain way. Yeah, it's even this way. So, okay. These are what I just explained is the two main ways that you're going to see this form used, but it's not every single way. 그러니까, oh, we'll talk about that, James. That's different. 그러니까 is different than 해서. Doesn't work the same. We'll talk about that though. That's for the second half of this lesson. Well, actually, it's toward the end of this lesson. I'll talk about that. It's really quick. Okay, so that is the form. That is how you make it. That is how you can and cannot use it. And that is how it's typically used. We're not completely done yet. There's two more things I want to talk about. But first, let me give you guys another example sentence. This sentence is going to be a little bit long. So I want you guys to try to translate it after I write it. 혼자 한국어를 혼자 한국어를. So let me write that a little nicer. Okay. 공부하는 것이 okay. 것이 어렵기도 해서 actually not yet. Let's do this. 하고 새로운 친구를 만들고 싶기도 해서 I told you the sentence is going to be long. We're not done yet. Study 모임에. Can I write down here? I'm running out of space. Make this a little bit smaller. Okay, it's still on the screen. 나가기로 했어요. Okay, before I explain this sentence, go ahead and give this a try. See if you can translate this. I shouldn't have written so big at the beginning. 혼자 한국어를 공부하는 게 어렵기도 하고 새로운 친구를 만들고 싶기도 해서 스터디 모임에 나가기로 했어요. Okay, go ahead and give it a try. I'm just curious. If you're intermediate, you should be able to translate this. If not, don't worry about it. Give it a try anyway for fun. Arlie, the regular so form, correct. However, this 고해소 form doesn't have that restriction because the 해소 is not talking about a person. Actually, in this case, it's sort of helping that sentence that comes before it. It's not connected to the subject of the first sentence. So here it doesn't matter. Normally, though, if you're using so form, yes, you would have to have the same subject like that. Okay, let's see who got. Oh, Soy 2. Let's see. Because studying Korean myself is difficult. I want to meet new friends. I want to go to a study. Close. Not. I want to go to a study meeting. We have 나가기로 했어요. But really close. And I'm just being picky now because this is just translation work. People might get different translations to make something sound natural. Because studying Korean is hard. Okay, yeah, sure, Small. Oh, Small, you kind of had it. You deleted it, but you kind of had it. Yevin. Kakung. I was actually going to send you a message earlier this morning. I was just busy setting this live stream. That's one of my friends. One of my IRL friends. She's cool. Because learning Korean on your own is hard and I want to meet new friends, I decided to go to a study meeting. Yeah, nice. Okay, perfect, Arlie. 혼자, alone, or by yourself. 혼자 한국어를 공부하는 게. So this is 거시. So the act of studying Korean by yourself. So studying Korean alone. 어렵기도 하고. Is, now this is not the 해소 form. This is the regular 기도하다 form. And we're not doing this in this live stream. The 기도하다 form, you can, I think I did a different live stream. Yeah, I have a different live stream about it. You can learn about it. It's not a special form per se. It is really literally just, it is even difficult. So yeah, you know, it's difficult and all studying Korean by yourself 하고 and 새로운 친구를 만들고 싶기도 해서. So 새로운 친구, new friends, 만들다, to make, 싶다. So I want to make new friends. Here we have the new form, 기도해서. Because, you know, well, I want to make some new friends. I also 기도해서. Here it's that even. I even want to make new friends, or I also want to make new friends. So because, you know, I also want to make new friends and other things, and because it's difficult to study Korean on my own, I decided to 나가기로 했어요. I decided to go to a study 모임, a study group. study 모임에 나가기로 했어요. study 모임에 나가기로 했어요. Literally, I decided to go out to a study meeting because 새로운 친구를 만들고 싶기도 해서. Because I also wanted to make friends, you know, and other things. I just wanted to make some friends and stuff. And 혼자 한국어를 공부하는 게 어렵기도 하고, because it's also difficult to study Korean by yourself. Okay, so it's a long sentence, so don't feel bad if you can't make a really natural translation of it in English. As long as you understand the Korean, that's all that's important. 혼자 한국어를 공부하는 게 어렵기도 하고, 새로운 친구를 만들고 싶기도 해서 스터디 모임에 나가기로 했어요. So, when we translate it though, like I said, it all goes in reverse. So the translation is actually more complicated than the sentence. But because let's do it this way. I decided to go to a study meeting because it's difficult to study Korean by myself, and also Because, among other reasons, because I want to make new friends. Okay. 혼자 한국어를 공부하는 게 어렵기도 하고 새로운 친구를 만들고 싶기도 해서 스터디 모임에 나가기로 했어요. Ooh, that's a mouthful. Okay. I just want to do a long sentence so you can kind of see the examples. And just to emphasize again that if this lesson is going a bit over your head, you might not have already learned the 기도하다 form, which is used in this 기도해서, but you might not have learned that form yet, which would make it difficult to now use this form here. So it might be you just haven't learned these pieces yet. When you have learned those pieces individually as well as the sole form, this lesson shouldn't be too difficult, I think, because it doesn't use any new concepts other than that. Okay. Now, but we're not done. So I'm not done explaining this form. So I gave some examples of using it with the verb stem with 고 해서. This can also be used with the past tense verb stem. So how you can do that? How can you do that? Korean. So easy a caveman can do it. Okay. 여행, let's 여행에서, why is my writing so bad? 여행에서, 이제 막 돌아왔고 해서 집에서 hold on, I got a donation. Let me check that out after I write this. 쉬고 Oh, it's just 쉬려고요. Okay. Okay. Say Sophia. Sophia Armanda. There's no R in there, but now there is. Sophia Armanda. What's the difference between 친구를 만들다 and 친구를 사귀다? Oh, okay. Sophia. Thank you. First of all, thank you for the $10 donation. Actually, 10 European dollars. Let's do a dab for that. Okay. Good question. Good question. Hold on, let me just check the time. Are we okay on time? Okay, we are okay on time. So I can answer that really quick. And Brando. Actually, let me update yours over here. Brando now. Thank you. I will not be outdone. Is that a challenge? Are you challenging me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you, Brando. You have what plants crave. Thank you to both of you. And then for Sophia, your question. 친구를 만들다 means literally to make friends. As in, it's kind of an English literal translation of the English expression to make friends, meaning to find friends, to get friends. 친구를 사귀다 is the more traditional. That's the form that I used when I was first learning Korean more. It is 사귀다 would normally be to have relation with, have any sort of relation with. So it's to meet friends, to hang out with your friends, also kind of works, 사귀다. To get friends, it works for all of that. Whereas 만들다 specifically find new friends only. But if you're wondering which one should you say to say, I want to make friends, either. You can use either one. Okay, so 여행에서 이제 막 돌아왔고 해서 집에서 쉬려고요. 집에서 쉬려고요. Okay, now that I've successfully read my own sentence. 여행에서, from a trip. 이제, now. 막, just now. 이제 막 돌아오다. 돌아오다 means to return, so to come back from somewhere. So I just came back from a trip. 여행에서, from a trip. 이제 막, just right now. 돌아왔고, so now I've just come back from a trip. Notice here it's the past tense verb stem. It's not 돌아오고 해서. It's 돌아왔고 해서. Because I just came back, past tense. You can use this form with past tense verb stems as well. There's nothing to it. There's no tricks. There's no exceptions. You just use a past tense verb stem. Boom. boom. Boom, boom. It's done. 돌아왔고 해서 because I just got back from a trip and other things, other reasons too. Maybe I still have to unpack. I have to quickly do this. I have things to do. I have to call my friends. I have to blah, blah, blah. I have other reasons, but the biggest reason is because I just got back from a trip. Oh, Brando. Forgot to account for those fancy European dollar inflations. Brando. Hold on, let me quickly finish this sentence. Okay. 집에서 쉬려고요. Hold on, let me update yours. I gotta do another 5 dabs. Okay. Thank you, Brando. Thank you, Brando. Yeah, that's true. There is inflation and the exchange rate for that. Okay, so thank you to both of you. It's not a contest, but feel free. 집에서, at home. 쉬다 is to relax, so rest at home. 쉬려고요. I'm intending to rest, so I'm gonna rest. And I'm just going to rest at home because, among other reasons, I just got back from a trip. So because I just got back from a trip and, other reasons, I'm just going to rest at home today. 여행에서 이제 막 돌아왔고 해서 집에서 쉬려고요. 여행에서 이제 막 돌아왔고 해서 집에서 쉬려고요. 집에서 쉬려고요. It's hard to even pronounce it when I'm trying to read it. I'm always like, for you guys, when I'm doing these live streams, I'm trying to read things like as accurately and as like straightforward as I can. And sometimes when I try to do that, like I suppress the regular way I would read it. Like I would just say, 나 집에서 쉬려고. Like it sounds fine when I say it, but when I try to say it slowly, sometimes I have like weird intonation in my sentence. Just letting you guys know. Anyway, 여행에서 이제 막 돌아왔고 해서 집에서 쉬려고요. Okay. And not only the past tense, but you can also use it with the future tense, but there's an exception. You can't just snap the future tense onto this. It'll be awkward. If you want to use it with the future tense, you got to use the kolkata form. I think that's the lyrics. So if you want to use this with the future tense, I recommend using the kolkata ending, not the regular future tense ending. It'll be really awkward. Literally, this would be like saying, because I think, among other reasons, because I think something will be a certain way. So use the kolkata form with the future tense, and then you can make it into a sentence. Let me give you an example of that. 주말. 주말 means weekend. Oh, this pen's dying. Okay. 주말엔 차 meaning car. So 차가 막히다. 차가 막히다 means literally the cars are blocked. But that's how you say there will be traffic. You say 차가 막히다. Literally, cars are blocked. As in you can't move. They're blocked. 차가 막힐 것. So now we're going to use the 같다. So here it's going to be 같고 해서. 평일 means weekday. 평 means normal, means flat, means average. So average day, that's what they used to refer to weekdays. 주말 literally means 주, week, 말, end. So 주말 means the end of the week. Weekend. 평일, the regular days. Weekdays. 평일에 다녀왔어요. 다녀오다. What am I saying? I'm not like writing what I'm saying. 다녀오다 literally means to commute somewhere that you normally would go to and come back. So to go somewhere and come back. So I went and came back, literally, but you can just translate this to I went there. Because in English, we don't need to say, yeah, I went to school and came back. In Korean, they do. But in English, we say I went to school, and it's assumed you mean that you came back because now you're not at school. But in Korean, if you just say I went to school, well, now your story's not over yet. Now in your story, you're technically still at school unless you say otherwise. Okay. 주말엔, so on the weekend, 주말에는, 주말엔 차가 막힐 것 같고 해서, because I think the cars will be blocked, so I think it will be very busy on the roads. I think there will be a lot of traffic. And other reasons, among other reasons, on the weekend, 평일에 다녀왔어요. I went there and came back on a weekday. Because, I thought that it would be a lot of traffic on the weekend. 주말엔 차가 막힐 것 같고 해서 평일에 다녀왔어요. Okay. Let's make sure I'm not missing any other chats. Not missing any other chats, right? Scroll up for a sec. Okay. 주말엔 차가 막힐 것 같고, oh, sorry, I should probably read it all as once instead of stopping here. 주말엔 차가 막힐 것 같고 해서 평일에 다녀왔어요. So I went on the weekday because I thought there would be a lot of traffic on the weekends, among other reasons. 주말엔 차가 막힐 것 같고 해서 평일에 다녀왔어요. Okay. All right, so we learned a lot about this form, but when you boil everything down, what is this form? It's just saying because of something, you did something. Because of something, you did something or you do something. Because of something, but there's other reasons. So you're just really listing one reason for something that you're doing or something that you did, and you're implying that there are other reasons. When you boil everything down, that's all that this form is. Now, I gave you other examples. You might use it with the 도 particle often. You might see it used with the 기도. If you wanted to use it, if you wanted to add emphasis to the verb, you can use it with 기도해서. There's one more thing that we have to do after I check this donation. Uh-oh. Gianna. Uh-oh. Gianna is now tied with Brondo. Wow, thank you. $15. Wow. We're not done with the lesson. There's one more important thing we have to talk about, which is also what Gems mentioned a bit ago. Okay. Let's do the 태극기. I'm going to do a long dab. Moment of silence for all the dabs that have happened. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so that is all there is to 고해서, as well as the using the 도 form with it, as well as 기도해서. That's all there is to it. But there's one more thing that I often find, and in fact, when I was researching for this lesson to make sure I got all the information right, I was surprised to find that there aren't any lessons about 고 하니까. There is another form that is similar to this 고해서 that actually is directly connected to it. They're brothers or, I don't know, sisters. But I couldn't really find any resources talking about it. So I was kind of surprised about that because it would make sense to be included. It's the exact same form. And that is, let me write it up here. This form is directly connected to 고해서, and that is 고 하니까. Or if you're trying to be a bit more formal, you might also see 고 하니. We don't really need to learn that though, but it's the same thing. It's the same as 하니까. This is another form that means because. It works in the same way as 고해서, but there's a difference, obviously. What can you tell me about 니까? When you use 니까, there are different restrictions than when you use 서. What can you use 니까 for that you can't use 서 for? Tell me, guys. What can you use the 니까 form that you cannot use the 서 because form for? Stepsisters? No, we're not going there. They're brothers. I think it'd be sisters, I guess. I don't know. Grammar forms are... I don't know what gender grammar forms are. I'm not going to assume it. Can't say I've ever heard that expression. Yep. Yes. Celine, as well as Binky. Yes. Commands. Commands. Okay. Suggestions. Okay. This form, just like Nika, can be used to give commands or suggestions. You can use this form if you want to make a suggestion or a command. So you can say, do something, or shall we do something because, among other reasons, whatever comes before it. Everything else, though, works the exact same as 해서. Everything. This is just a replacement form. You can switch 해서 with 하니까, and now you get access to commands or suggestions. But just like 서 and nika, there are differences in them, and I'm not going to be going over those today. You can check out my live stream I did about the differences between those forms. I think it was like my second live stream I ever did, or third live stream, so you can find that on the Google document. So we're not going to be going into those, but it's the same as 고 해서, except that you can use it with commands or suggestions. So let me give you an example. And I was really surprised that I couldn't find any lessons about this. I specifically Googled for this form, 0. I didn't search in, actually, yeah, even in Korean, in the Korean dictionary, they didn't even have an explanation of this form. So I was surprised, but it's the same thing, just with using 하니까 instead. So 날씨 is weather. 날씨가 춥고 하니까 날씨가 춥고 하니까 모자, a hat, 와 장갑, 장갑 is gloves. 장갑을 꼭. 꼭 is an adverb that means to make sure to do something, or surely. So if you're using it in a command, it means make sure to do something. If you're saying that someone did something with it, it's like they certainly did something. But yeah, you can translate it as make sure to. 꼭 쓰세요. So 쓰다 meaning to wear anything on. Well, yeah, it could be either one, whatever. To wear anything on your head. It works for this though, since you're using two different things. 모자와 장갑을 꼭 쓰세요. Make sure to wear a hat and gloves. 날씨가 춥고 하니까. Because the weather is cold, among other reasons, 모자와 장갑을 꼭 쓰세요. Make sure to wear a hat and gloves. Suggestion. Would this be a suggestion? I guess this would be a command, actually. 쓰세요. So this is a command. Make sure to wear a hat and gloves because, among other reasons, the weather's cold. 날씨가 춥고 하니까 모자와 장갑을 꼭 쓰세요. 날씨가 춥고 하니까, because the weather is cold, among other reasons, 모자와 장갑을 꼭 쓰세요. Make sure to wear a hat and gloves. So this is the same form as 해서. However, because it's 하니까 and not 해서, you can use it with commands or suggestions. You can say, shall we? Or do something. But you could not do this with 해서. And that's our lesson for today. That is all about, we actually finished on time. I can't believe it. We finished 2 minutes before I projected that we'd finish. And that is at best case scenario. So that is everything about 해서, as well as everything about 하니까 with this form. Now I'm going to open up for questions. So if you guys have any Korean questions, whether about this lesson or anything else, feel free to ask them. If you do not, if you're only here for just this quick lesson, thank you for coming. That was very painless. Hopefully you guys thought so too. And yeah, so I'm going to now take questions for a little bit. If you have any comments or questions, feel free. Nikki. Oh yeah, Nikki, thanks. I don't think I said hi to you yet, but thanks for coming. 와, 쌤 정말 수고했어요. 짱 외국인. Are you actually you're probably I don't know if you're actually a non-Korean or not. Your Korean sentence is great. Very natural. Ichi Droid, I have a separate live stream about ko naso. Check that out. As well as ko nanika. Completely unrelated forms. Zero in common, except that they both use ko. Why can't you say chu? You mean chu unika, not chu wonika. You mean chu unika. You can, but then that's just saying because. And maybe you missed the first half of the lesson, but I explained that this form means one of the reasons among many. If you just say 추우니까, that's because the weather's cold, the end. 춥고 하니까, or 춥고 해서, well, because the weather's cold, among other reasons. That's the difference. 외국인이에요. Nice. 그냥 열심히 공부하고. Okay. You don't need to use 고든요 then. If you're not a Korean, then let me feel free to correct your Korean. Yeah, a couple people were asking, can you just use 했으니까 or like 하니까? Yeah, but then you don't have the meaning of listing multiple reasons. Then you're just saying because of this. The end. Do you want to say because it rained today? Because it rained today, I stayed home. Sure. 비가 와서 집에 있었어요. Yeah. Or do you want to say, well, because it rained and other things, among other reasons, that's the biggest reason, but there are others, then you'd use 고 해서 or 고 하니까. But yeah, you don't have to use this form. It's just an extra form. That's why this is an intermediate form, not a beginner form, because you don't need this form to express the meaning of I did something because. You can use a million other forms for that. I wanted to know about prepositions. If you give me an example of a verb, I can tell you. In the ones that you gave, 올리다 and 내리다. 올리다 just means to go up. In any sense of the word, anything goes up. 내리다 is anything goes down. So in that sense, you can combine those, like going up and jumping, going down and walking, anything like that. But those are not prepositions at all. Those are verbs that are conjugated and attached onto another verb. So it really just has the meaning of one verb followed by the other verb. If you give me an example, I can break it down for you. Cheryl. Wow, Cheryl, thank you. I wasn't keeping track. I didn't know what my donations were at today. Thank you. Every day, it's every live stream, it's a different amount. Sometimes it'll be like $300 donations. Other times it'll be like $30 donations. I don't know. Well, I definitely noticed the really big ones, but otherwise I wasn't looking. Thank you. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. Oh, okay. Thank you, Cheryl. And I'll take questions for I'll say a good 15 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to stick around and ask them. And I'll be here for the next 15 minutes and answering those. Let's see. But yeah, so, Grandpa Mikey. I was just going to say really quick too, Pora, if you give me an example of a combination, I can break that one down for you if there's one that's confusing. Or if you have more clarification of the question, I can answer it as well. Wow, Grandpa. I have a feeling someday I'm going to do like a fan meetup and Grandpa Mikey's going to come and Grandpa Mikey's going to be like a 15-year-old kid with the name Grandpa Mikey or something. Kimchi, 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 kimchi. I think that was over 10. Thank you. I keep track. I really should keep track in Korean. Keep track of what? What is it that you're keeping track of? Someone asked, what is better for practicing Korean? Hold on, who asked that? Ayakata. Which is better for practicing Korean? Korean dramas or TV shows or Twitch streams? Of those three, Twitch. Of those three is Twitch because it'll be more natural. Yeah, I would say Twitch or YouTubers would be better, more natural than Korean shows, like variety shows. And then below that would be Korean dramas. And then below that would be songs and historical dramas. Those are the least useful, I think, for practicing listening. Now, I'm not saying songs are not useful, but out of all the types of Korean listening you can do, in my opinion, they're the least useful for practicing. They're fun, but for practicing listening, they're probably the lowest on the totem, or I guess the highest on the totem pole. I learned that it's the opposite. I heard that the most important totem pole is actually the one at the bottom. So we always say like lowest on the totem pole, but I think that might have been the highest spot if I remember correctly. Anyway, it's the least important. I don't know. Maybe someone who knows about totem poles can tell me. Oh, Seiko's only. What is PLN? Hold on. I gotta look this up for how many dabs I can do. $6. Oh, 6.5. Okay. Awesome. Seiko's only. Oh, and another one also. A plumber man. Are you really a plumber? I want to talk to you. Sometimes my pipes, they keep making this like dook, 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 dook sound whenever we use the hot water. I hope it's okay though. Oops, I think you broke the light. Turn this off. Sometimes the donations break the light. Thank you. First, I'm going to do a dab for Seiko's only. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. Half dab. And then a plumber man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Thank you to both of you guys. Oh, I feel dizzy. Okay. Jang Weigugin, how did you increase your Korean conversation practice? I just call Koreans, but they speak so fast. If you're able to speak, so you're able to speak Korean, but it's just a little too fast for you. Not that you don't understand them at all, but like if they spoke more slowly, you could get them. If that's what you're saying, you just need to do more of it. That's great. If you're in that level where you can speak Korean, but you just feel like, oh, it's just a little too fast, slow down. That is wonderful. If you're in that spot. If you're in the spot where you actually don't get it, you just think that it's because they're too fast, but even if they're speaking slowly, you wouldn't get it. That's different. But I'm going to assume it's the first case. In that case, that's wonderful. You just need to keep doing it. It will catch up. If in the meantime, however, to help out with that, I recommend shorter sentences. Shorter sentences can help your Korean go faster. So you don't have to spend a long time thinking about what you want to say. Just get out what you want to say in fewer words. So why say many words when few words do trick, right? Keep your sentences simple, shorter. And in the meantime, you don't have to only do chatting on the phone. You can also do text chatting, which is also very useful too. If you want to practice those longer sentences, do it over text, not in voice. When you're doing voice practicing, the idea is to keep the conversation flowing to get as much practice as possible. In that case, you don't need to make these long, fancy sentences. No, just focus on getting your point across with the fewest amount of words as possible in the shortest sentences. So if you want to say, like your friend asks, what'd you do today? You don't have to be like, I was meeting, I'll do it in English so I don't do it in Korean. Yeah, I was meeting my friend, I was going to the mall and we hung out for a little bit and we got something to eat and then we walked over and watched a movie. No, just say, I ate lunch. 점심 먹고 영화 봤어요. I ate lunch and I watched a movie. 친구랑 같이 영화를 봤어요. Keep it really simple. Like what you did. Keep it as short, as simple as you can possibly do, but it keeps the conversation flowing. And then you can ask, how about you? 보미 씨는요? How about you, 보미, or whatever their name is? That's what you want to do to keep the conversation flowing. Then they'll talk. They'll blah, 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 talk as much as they want. Listen to all of it. That's wonderful. Then it's your turn again. Short sentences. What did you eat today? 아이스크림밖에 안 먹었어요. I only had ice cream. There. Really simple, short sentence. Doesn't require lots of brain power if you know that form. Don't try to be like, well, I was trying to go eat ice cream at the store and they didn't have my favorite flavor. So I instead ordered Shrek ice cream and it was terrible. So I asked the manager for a refund, but he wasn't there. You don't have to go into that. You can just say, oh, I ate it. Like, Shrek ice cream을 먹어봤는데 별로더라고요. I tried eating Shrek ice cream today, but it wasn't that good. It's not really that good. I had it. Anyway, yeah, that's what I recommend. Shorter sentences to make more natural sounding Korean. Because a lot of people feel like if they can't express themselves the same way in Korean as they do in English, that they're therefore not fluent. And that's not true at all. You can get fluent at Korean without actually knowing how to say everything in English, because you're able to just keep the conversation. Fluent comes from the word, it's like fluid, flowing. You can keep the conversation flowing. You can say everything you want to say. It might not be the same way you want to say it, but you sound very fluent. You're keeping the conversation flowing with the other person. That's great if you can do that. And if that means if you can speak Korean more fluidly earlier by shortening your sentences, do it. That's what you need to do. With enough practice then, once you can keep the conversation going, then you can slowly add in the newer things that you want to practice and, things that you can write, but you're not so good at speaking. You can slowly start adding those into your conversations, but start with the being able to speak Korean part and later evolve that into being able to say everything I actually want to say. But don't try to go for that. You can never go straight from the floor to the ceiling. You have to kind of take steps up there. And a step way before you're going to be fluent completely, a step is I can have full conversations. Even though it's not everything I want to say, I can keep a conversation going. That's a very important, solid step. Okay, that was a very long answer. Yeah, small. When Shrek movie came out, they had a Shrek ice cream. They also have themed ice cream, because I used to work at Baskin Robbins. That was my my high school part-time job. I worked at Baskin Robbins for several years. And they would always have movie tie-ins, like famous movies or events and stuff with ice cream flavors. I think at that time they said they had like somewhere over like 500 flavors or something. Actually, they just rotate several new ones, like promotional ones. And I remember they had a Shrek ice cream. They actually had two. They had a donkey one and a Shrek one. And I think the donkey one was okay, and the Shrek one was like overly sweet and terrible. And I think the donkey one had like Pop Rocks in it or something, unless I'm getting them mixed up. But it wasn't really that great. Okay. Small. 게다가? Yeah, that's actually on the list, the voting list. I wanted to know all conjugated prepositions like 들어다, 올라, 내리, which I know they mean. Yeah, these are not prepositions. Like I said, these are not prepositions at all. Don't think of these as prepositions because they don't work like prepositions in English. So the term preposition is incorrect. If you're talking about a prefix, I think you mean prefix. In English, you could consider it as a prefix, but in Korean, that is in no way a prefix because it's simply a conjugated verb attached to another conjugated verb. It's two verbs attached together. It's not a prefix that you add. And if you're talking about that, there's actually hundreds of verbs that do that. It's not like I could just tell you, well, here are the common verbs that do that. There are hundreds. You can do that with probably any verb that's an action verb. You can stick two together. Yeah, so it's not really a good way to think of it like that. It's better to learn the individual verbs and then just stick the meanings together in your head. So if you have like 올리다 is to go up, 올리다 is doing this, 가다 is to go, 올라가다 to go up. There you go. 내리다, 가다, 내려가다 to go down. There you go. 뛰다 to run, 뛰어가다 to run and go to run somewhere. 뛰어오다 to run here. That's all it is. It's not a special prefix. It's not a special preposition at all. It's just the verbs attaching together and giving the first meaning to the second, how the second verb happens by the first one. So are you running up? Are you running down? Are you walking up? Are you walking down? Are you walking here? Are you walking there? Anything like that. Well, I was replying to Arlie. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay. 깨다? Philip. Well, if you're talking about wake up, then yeah, 깨다. But there is a different 깨다, which is used with an object to break something. So that would be like a homonym. But yeah, you can actually use 깨다 as well as waking up with an object as well. if you're talking about waking up. It's a little bit, that's the difficulty. I think the difficult thing about the topic of passive verbs and causative verbs is that a lot of them can overlap. So there's times when verbs can mean both versions of to have something happen and to do something. It just makes Korean a little bit confusing. I think passives is quite a large topic because of that type of stuff. But no, yeah, you can actually use it for either. Although 깨우다 is only a causative. Oh yeah, and Letitia, the difference 그러니까. 그러다 is actually the same usage as 하다 in that sense. So you might see this is all it is. 그러다. 그러다 is a informal spoken version of 하다 whenever it's not being used to say like I did something. 했어요. 오늘 했어요. You wouldn't say 오늘 그랬어요 about yourself. It's used in a only spoken informal version, but it's okay to think of it as pretty much the same thing though. I'll just keep it simple. We don't need to talk about like that type of thing. 그러다 actually means 그렇게 하다. To do so, to do like that, to do it in that way. 그러다, to do that. 하니까, 그러니까. Now, this doesn't mean 니까 means 그러니까. No, I mean 하니까 equals 그러니까. This whole thing equals that. As well as 해서. This whole thing equals 그래서. So whenever you see 그래서, therefore, it actually is 해서. But they don't use 해서 in spoken Korean. You'll see 그래서. So you can replace these with one or the other if you see it. This is also used all the time in quoting forms. Like someone said that he is going. 간다고 했어요. He said that he will go. 간다고 했어요. 간다고 그랬어요. Exact same meaning, more informal and more spoken sounding. So it'll actually be more common to use 그러다 whenever it's used in this sort of meaning. But yeah, it's the same thing. Sorry, I mentioned I was going to talk about that in the lesson, but I didn't. But that's all it is. You can use it. Okay. I can take questions for about another 5 minutes. Well, it's getting kind of hot in here. But yeah, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. What? It's 76 in here. Why does 76 feel so cold during the summer, but like hot during the winter? I don't get it. Maybe it's just because, I don't know, like I feel hot, but then if I look at the temperature, it's like 76 in here, which is kind of cool. So I don't get it. Okay. What's your zodiac sign? That doesn't make any sense. I don't believe in stuff like that. I would be Gemini, but apparently it changed. Didn't it change? So I would have been like Cancer or whatever because it switched over time. So it doesn't make any sense. 하고, 랑, 과. Is there a way to remember which one to use? Good question. Yes. If you want to sound formal, or you want to have a polite sounding to something to what you're saying, use wa and qua. This has a very straightforward and this and this. I'm not saying you can't use this in casual speech. If you use this, it's not going to make your sentence sound really weird. It's just going to have a formal I shouldn't even say formal. Polite, straightforward form that just means and. It's very boring sounding. 이랑. This one has a casual feeling to it. Now, it doesn't mean you can only use it in 반말. You can use it in any informal speech. In fact, you can even hear this used in polite speech. Not a lot, but it's okay. It's not rude, but it has a more casual, it has a more spoken feeling to it. So it sounds just more like informal. You do not want to write this in an essay, ever. You would always write this in an essay. You'd always write this in a document. You would say this in speeches. But it's not to say you can't switch them. You can't use them in those situations, but it has more of a feeling of that. And then the last one is 하고, which doesn't really have either. It doesn't tend to be more formal or more spoken. It's often used for connecting words together, like just saying this and this and this or whatever. It's a very boring, flat form. It's less common, but if you don't know if you should be more or less polite, you can use 하고. Personally, I recommend using 이랑 for speech. And if you're not doing casual speech or like with your friends or anything informal, use 와 or 과 if you're not sure. But if you just want to be lazy and use 하고, it's going to be fine. 동안? No, 동안 is not only used with numbers. 동안 means a period, a gap, a space, a time, during, anything. 동안 works. If you say 내가 일하고 있는 동안, literally, the space of time, the interval, while I work, the interval of me working. So the time I am working, or we would translate just as while I am working. It's just the interval. I should say interval is probably a better word. The interval of time is 동안. So during anything, literally like interval, that sort of meaning. But during, I think, is a natural translation for it. So anything, any noun, during that noun, yeah, works fine. It is not only used with numbers. You could also say 한 시간 동안. The interval, the period of time of 1 hour. 한 시간. Sure, that works too. If you're talking about an action verb, you would of course need to use a conjugated action verb. So it would be 는. So 하는 동안, for example. I have a live stream about 동안. Let's see. Can you briefly give examples of 김에? I haven't done a live stream about it, but all it is... I think, no, did I do a live stream? Hold on. I feel like I maybe did a live stream. I must have done a live stream. It feels familiar. Yes. My live stream from April 19th this year. You can find it in the Google document. I did all about 김에. Oh wait, sorry. It's 5/3. So May 3rd. My May 3rd live stream was 김에, as well as all the different forms of it. So yeah, check that out. But I won't explain it again because it's not something I can do really briefly, but it just means while you're doing something else. But like I said, that doesn't help because you actually need the explanation of what it literally means to get it. And watch the live stream for that. You can watch the abridged version. You'll probably get it in like 2-3 minutes. 제가 봤을 때, literally when I looked at it, or you can think of it as thinking about it. Like when I looked at it, as in when I looked it over, when I gave it a thought, 제가 봤을 때, when I saw it, literally, but it's more of like, I saw it and thought about it. I'm looking at it, I'm like, when I saw it, that sort of meaning. But yeah, when I thought about it. Billy has a video. Yes, I have a video about most topics, not every topic. You can use 오랫동안. 오랫동안 would be for a long time. Combination of 오래, meaning a long period of time, or yeah, 오래 is a long period of time, and 동안, the interval, the period of a long period of time. So for or during a long period of time is 오랫동안, is what it means. 김에 at the same time, you could translate like that in English. Literally, it doesn't mean that. Literally, it means an opportunity, I believe. I'd have to double check my notes, but yeah, it was something like that. So it would be used, if not, if you think of it just means at the same time, well, there's other forms that mean at the same time that you could confuse with easily if you think it means that. So I wouldn't say it means at the same time. If you want to say I did something at the same time as him, you would say that person 하고 있는 동안 내가 something something something. Like I did something while he did something. That's at the same time. Or 동시에, literally at the same, same, 시, 동시, same time. 동시에 내가, at the same time, I did something else. So that would be a literal way of saying at the same time. Kime doesn't mean at the same time, though. You could translate that into your sentence at times, but not always. I would use taga, but I'm probably wrong. Taga would be, like I said, taga, I mentioned it really briefly, but that is when you're doing something, while something is happening, you're doing something else. But it happens immediately after you did something. And in fact, it happened while you're doing it, that you didn't get to finish your action. So you're doing something, and then right after you do that thing, you're not even finished with it, something interrupts you. That's what taga. So in that case, it translates to while. Like I was walking home. While I was walking home, I found a coin purse or something like that. Well, now you're not home when you found the coin purse. It's on your way home. So while you were going home, in that sort of sense. Why does 울다 change to 우는? Finn, yes, the verb stems that end with a lir, such as that example, not all of them, but most of them, they have, whenever you're conjugating them, the lir goes away. Whenever you're using it in the regular adjective conjugation, I should say, that's the technical term for it. Whenever you're attaching nun to an action verb, if it ends, action verb, however, not descriptive verb, whenever you're attaching nun to an action verb, therefore making it into an action verb adjective. Yeah, that's a little bit complicated. Whenever you're attaching nun, though, to an adjective, an action verb, and that action verb stem ends with a lir, remove it. That's a general conjugation rule for every verb, practically every verb that ends with a lir. So that's just a standard rule. And it's not only 울다, it's going to be every other verb as well. Action verb, however. Is it okay to use 잊어버리다 for saying I forgot my phone at home instead of 놓고 왔어요? No. 있다, 잊어버리다, 있다. It comes from 있다. So 잊어버리다 is just a form of 있다. With 버리다, which is a form. I did a live stream about it. It just adds emotion. But 있다 is the original verb. 있다 means to forget. A piece of information. So you can forget to do your homework, piece of information. You can forget anything in your head. You can forget a person. You can forget an idea. You can forget a story. You can forget what someone said. You can forget Korean grammar. You can forget a language. You can forget English. You know, you can't forget an object. To forget something, you would say you left it somewhere. So if you're like, I'm here at a party and I forgot my wallet at home. 놓고 왔어요. 지갑을 놓고 왔어요. 집에 놓고 왔어요. Literally, I put it down at my house and I came here. So I forgot it at my house. You wouldn't use 잊었어요. If you said 지갑을 잊었어요, that's like I forgot about my wallet, that it existed. I forgot about the information related to my wallet. So I completely forgot it existed. Not I forgot it. And then you could pull it out of your pocket like, oh, I forgot my wallet, but here it is. I forgot about it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You don't use it with objects. This would be only forgetting something that's in your head. Good question. Can you do an in-depth video on 가지고? Kat, I can give you a full lesson about 가지고 right now. You conjugate a verb as if you're getting the 요 form, but you don't add the 요. So by that I mean 하다 would become 해. You're done. Then you attach 가지고 or sometimes 갖고. Same thing. Okay, you have to be prepared. It's a very, very extremely complicated grammar form. But the first thing I'll tell you is that this is only used in speech. In fact, it's so only used in speech, people don't even write it. It's not even used much in casual writing between friends. It's a spoken form. This is spoken grammar. Exclusively spoken grammar. You might find it written sometimes, but typically they won't even write it. It's just a spoken grammar. It has a very casual feeling to it. Kind of like ain't. Like people don't write ain't, but some people might still say ain't, right? In that sort of sense, like, yeah, you could write it, but it's usually just spoken. Okay, so it's a spoken form, and what it is Saul, the end. Yay! That was a difficult grammar lesson. Hope you followed along with that. Hope that wasn't too hard for you. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just Saul, but it's a spoken version of Saul. Okay. Can you give another example with 꼭? The most common place you're going to see 꼭 is together with a command. 꼭 하세요. 꼭 해주세요. 꼭 가. 꼭 해. 꼭 빌려줘. Or just you could say 꼭, like make sure. That's it. Just to make sure to do something. Literally though, 꼭 is like surely. Surely do it. Like make sure to, in that sort of sense. Certainly. Yes. Hopefully, I know it's a lot of explaining. I know it's a lot of explaining here. Hopefully, y'all got this lesson. It's very hard, very difficult, everyone. I can't even speak English. Okay. Any last questions before we end the stream? 호수가 내리는 바람에 우비를 꼭 입으세요. Yeah, anything like that. So you don't have to use it with commands. You know, you could say 꼭 하고 있어요 or whatever, you know. But typically you'll see it used with commands in that sort of make sure to meaning. It's also used with have to, like 꼭 해야 돼요. I have to make sure to do it. But yeah, make sure to is a good translation for it in any of those meanings. How could I say the translation word in addition? Like when you want to describe another point in your essay. The simplest way is just to say 그리고. 그리고, and if you want to sound fancy, 또 or 또는, I don't really recommend using this, but it's a little more fancy. But I think if you're speaking, however, 그리고 is what you want to use. Just and, but like in Korean, it doesn't have the feeling of just saying and. 그리고 has sort of a meaning of like, and therefore, and in addition, it has that sort of fancy, because it's not really used too much in speech. 그리고, I hear it used, but it has a more formal feeling to it. 그리고. It doesn't have like a casual spoken feeling. If you wanted to say 그리고 just in casual, like regular, they wouldn't use it. They would just connect the sentence before with the next sentence. You would just say like, oh, I like 김치. 김치를 좋아하고, and I like sushi. 초밥도 좋아해요. 수시하고 초밥을 좋아해요. 초밥을 좋아하고, actually I shouldn't say fair. 김치를 좋아하고 초밥도 좋아해요. So I like kimchi and I like, you just say and regularly. You wouldn't need to do 김치를 좋아해요. 그리고 초밥도 좋아해요. Like it sounds like you're saying I like kimchi and in addition I like sushi. It sounds fine, but it's a bit fancy sounding. So yeah, 그리고 would probably work for that. Yeah, 또한. 또는 would also be like or as well. So you have to be careful with that. 또 by itself, 또 or 또한. Yeah, either of those probably be good. Yeah. Yeah, 또는 would be more like or. That's right. So the point is, stick with 그리고. If you want to be really fancy, you can use 또한, like that. But otherwise, I don't really think you need it very much. Okay, any other last minute questions? Seems like this textbook seems to have unnecessarily complicated explanations. Oh, really? I don't know what textbook it is. Every textbook has its pros and cons. Ocean Discovery, would you recommend reading novels after finishing all 3 Go Billy books? I don't recommend reading novels ever, unless you're already at an advanced level, or that's really what you want to do, you really are interested in that, then by all means go ahead. But you're not going to get a lot of useful Korean for speaking out of novels. Is your goal to learn how to read Korean? Or is your goal to learn how to speak Korean? Which one is more important to you? I would focus on that. And I would say speaking is more important in my case, and practicing speaking is going to get you farther than just reading. You could read all of the Harry Potter books at an intermediate level of Korean, just with a dictionary. You have a dictionary open, you have the original Harry Potter series, you read the sentence, you try to understand it, you read the English sentence, you read the Korean again, you get it. Okay, next sentence. You could read all of the Harry Potter books like that, finish them, great. And by the time you finish the last book, you're like, yeah, it's faster, I'm much better at this. And then you open your mouth, can you speak Korean any better than when you started? No. Likely nothing. You're not gonna have any sort of improvement in your speaking. You might have been able to pick up some useful words that you saw used a lot, like you'll know the word for like, I think it's like sasursa or something like that for a sorcerer or whatever. Is that even the right word? Is it tosursa or, I don't even know the word for sorcerer. Oh, it doesn't even have it here. Wait, did I spell it wrong? Oh, I spelled it wrong. Yeah, it might help if I spell it right. Not mabopsa. That's like wizard. Chusursa. Chusursa. Okay, chusursa is a word for sorcerer. Like, are you gonna really use that in speech? No, not really. You'll get some words, but it's not gonna help you speak better. So it's for fun. You can do it for getting used to reading books. But if your goal is to learn how to speak Korean, novels reading isn't gonna get you there. The word sorcerer, I've used it several times, but only in playing Korean games. I see it. Like, I would know the word because I can read it. And if I really want to say the word, I'll know those words that I've been exposed to a lot. But when you're not even able to speak Korean yet, it's not going to teach you stuff you didn't already know. It's not going to be the best resource for learning grammar forms either, because you've seen the grammar form used, but you're not going to know how to make it yourself. You're not going to know when you can and can't use it because you haven't seen it enough to get that sort of feeling yet. Okay. Any Korean idiom lessons coming up? If members want that, I could do it. The thing with idioms, though, is you have to already know how to speak Korean to use them. It's not something that I could just say, here, memorize these and they'll help your Korean. They won't, because a beginner can't even use them. Like, how weird would it sound if you spoke beginner Korean, but you suddenly threw out an idiom in English? I say, if someone's learning English and they're very beginner, so they're saying, nice to meet you. They can't really speak yet. Nice to meet you. My name is Billy. What is your name? And they're like, oh, my name is Bomi. Nice to meet you. Pretend you're speaking Korean here. Oh, you're learning Korean. That sounds so difficult. Oh no, learning Korean is like shooting a fish in a barrel. Ha 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 ha. Like, does that sound cool? Do you sound good in Korean if you said that expression? Well, in English, in this case, would you sound natural? Would they think you're smart? No, they'll think you're a nerd. They'll be like, what are you, like, yeah, I guess it makes sense, but it's awkward because it doesn't, not that expression is awkward, but that you can't use it unless you can match your Korean to that expression. If you were to say, like, to your friend, you're like, yeah, I've been learning Korean it's been about 15 years. And they're like, oh, well, it must be difficult. And you're like, well, it was quite difficult at first, but these days it's more like shooting a fish in a barrel, if you know what I mean. LOL. That sounds more natural, right? It matches with your tone. The rest of what you're saying matches along with that. And yeah, it sounds okay. It's a little bit complicated. It's a little bit advanced, but they would think, wow, that person's Korean's amazing. It doesn't work unless you can match that with the rest of your Korean. So I caution against learning too many idioms. Now, that doesn't mean you can't learn idioms. There are some idioms that sound natural even in beginning speech. 마음에 들다 is a good example. It just means to like something based on your first impression. So like you see a movie and how was it? Oh, 마음에 들었어요. Like I really enjoyed it. That's fine. It's an idiom, but it's such a simple idiom that it's okay. Someone who's old in Korean, you say they ate a lot of years. 나이를 많이 먹은 사람. Something like that. 나이를 많이 드신 분. Someone who's very old. And it's like a polite way of saying someone is old. It doesn't sound awkward, but it's an idiom. Those sort of idioms are fine. But things that are more advanced, like more, the kind of fun idioms that you might see, things like raining cats and dogs or, in English, like, really, would you use it? Not very much. The Korean idiom, like 일석이조 is a really common one, literally two birds. Well, actually one stone, two birds. So two birds with one stone. When are you going to use that expression where it would sound natural? It would be when you're already speaking Korean. You're already at like an intermediate, fully speaking Korean level, not at the beginner level. It would just sound really awkward. So I caution against spending your time learning that sort of stuff until you can already speak Korean. In which, once you can already speak Korean, it's much easier to learn it. You know when you can use it and when you can't use it. And it's easier to learn the grammar around it. Whereas in a beginner, you're just memorizing an expression. It sounds really awkward, I think. So that's my caution about that. Hopefully that doesn't sound too mean. But yeah, that's what I would say about it. Don't focus on learning idioms. Okay. Can you explain the, Dang Weigugin, that's just the plain form. I have several videos about the plain form, as well as I did a live stream about the plain form too. I think I did 2 live streams where I talk about the plain, or 3. If you search plain form, you'll find a stream that I talk about the speech levels in Korean. I think I mentioned plain form. Also in my quoting lesson, I mentioned plain form. Also in my thinking lesson, I mentioned plain form. I also have abridged versions for all of those. And in my Learn Korean series, I also have a video teaching the plain form, how to use it, how to make it. And in my new series that I'm making right now, I also have an upcoming video about the plain form. So there's lots of plain form videos that you can learn. Okay, that's enough for today. We did an extra 30 minutes of questions. I know a lot of you still actually stuck around. Thank you for staying, everyone. As well as, again, thank you to all of today's supporters. Alex Full Metal, Brando, Sofia, Gianna, a Cheryl, a Grandpa Mike, a Psychos Only, and a plumber. A plumberman. Thanks for coming, everyone, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Oh, maybe if I wander around, I can find my way back to Seoul here.